Ladies and sinners, welcome to another Tuesday evening edition of the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. You guys can get at us on our Twitter forums at SinCity_IESR, at Cale_Henderson, where we talk all things Vegas sports. And as you guys know, it is IE Vegas. That's where it's at. And I want to take over the Vegas radio waves, man. Like, I know it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a bit of a task, but I think we have the potential because there just isn't a lot of sports talk radio in Vegas other than the major one in ESPN and stuff like that. We just need to do a better job of taking over. So I ask you guys, please go to our YouTube, go to our Spotify, go to Apple Pods, Google Pods, check us out on Spreaker. Like, follow the show, help our algorithms, man. Share the episode if you like the episode. You don't have to worry about tuning in live all the time because I understand I'm getting on a little bit later. Guess what? You can review the episode, favorite the show, man. Get back at us, man. Give us some comments, send us some tweets, send us some messages. We're very interactive with the people who reach out to us about our show, about topics in Vegas, sports in general out there, and we'd be happy to make some adjustments. But just in general, man, promote the show. We put in some work. I know it's once a week sometimes, but yeah, we love it. And do that for all of my fellow IE Sports Radio co-hosts, right? All of my teammates out there, because they do an excellent job. They work their butts off. I truly believe they try to put the best show out there on a consistent basis. Go to our website, iesportsradio.com. Check out our shows. Check out our forums. The forums, check out our merch. Support IE Sports Radio. We're a small, independent radio station that is just going global, right? That's what Larry B wants to do, and I totally respect it. I love it. Sponsor for today, and sponsor for a while, realistically, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm Single A affiliates of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, low in sugar, and high in protein. This would not be Uncle Roger's best friend. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on, and for a limited time you can win 4 tickets to see the Storm or 4 bags of jerky. All you have to do is visit planetjerky.net, place your order, follow Planet Jerky at Planet Jerky, and DM them that you bought your jerky from hearing this ad. Once again, huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other level. And we got to do a shout out to our platform, IE Sports Radio. For the last 9 years, IE Sports Radio has brought you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports with our shows. Also, check out our website, iesportsradio.com, for sports news, the IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each podcast on the network, our IE Sports Radio community forum, and stop by the store. Check out our latest merch. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Thank you to those tuning in. Taryn Rodriguez has always been the greatest teammate in history. Ralph, thank you so much. By the way, Taryn is the host of SoCal Sports Show. He's also the host of Set Point, IE Sports Radio official volleyball show. I mean, he's the expert of everything volleyball. Dude travels all over the country to watch volleyball tournaments, and he does a great job of covering those tournaments. He's definitely aficionado of the sport. It's very impressive. On top of that, he does assist Larry B in some of his shows, like Three and Out College Edition. I mean, he does a great job. He's one of our leaders here at IE Sports Radio. So shout out to him. Ralph Calise, thank you so much for tuning in. He's part of the Yinzer Report, man. I know he's a big Pittsburgh guy. He's a Steel City guy. Gotta love him. Adam Karnick, thank you so much for tuning in. Host of Chi-Town Weekly in the Neutral Zone. Legend. Has probably the best drop in IE Sports Radio, and I'm going to play it today because, yeah, he deserves it. So, Taryn, yeah, good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Cale, Sin City Sports, have a great show. Let's go. Thank you so much, Ralph. Good evening, Knights. Go from Streakers to streak killers. Yeah, streaker in a bad way, Adam. We'll talk about that a little later, man. But dude, they went on a losing streak, and that's not good. But good news is Jack Eichel's back. Looks like he's skating. Looks like he's getting healthy at the right times. They're still in second place in their division, so they will host probably a playoff game. But yeah, Jack Eichel getting back is huge. Taryn said, "Well, the Vegas Thrill Pro Volleyball Federation." Because I asked Taryn, "Hey, what kind of news do you have for me in volleyball, Taryn? Give it to us." Because Vegas has a few teams. Well, the Vegas Thrill Pro Volleyball Federation's Pro Women's Volleyball has lost 3 straight matches, losing at Orlando 3-1 on Thursday, Columbus 3-0 at home on Saturday, and Columbus Fury 3-1 on Monday. Adam Karnick says, "Are you ready for the Underwear Olympics?" Yes. You know what? I'm not as negative about this as a lot of other people are, Adam. I love the NFL scouting combine, dude. First of all, it's an event. Only the NFL could take guys wearing tights and make it look really cool and make a ton of money off of it and have sponsors. Okay, so that's where the NFL is just amazing. But I get it, man. Like the 40 time, it's blown out of proportion. It's so blown out of proportion. I'll say it like this: I don't give a rat's ass about a 40 time. Yeah, it's cool if guys run 4.3s, right? It's cool if guys run low 4.4s, right? I totally get it. I don't give a rat's ass about that. What I'm impressed with, what I want to see is that person's height and weight. What I want to see is what their build looks like. Can you build on it even more? Because some of these guys come into college, they bloom late. They're excellent athletes, but they still bloom late once they get to the pros and they have like legitimate trainers that aren't dealing with 120 athletes. They're only dealing with 53 athletes. Like you see massive returns. Guys lean out. They take their body more seriously. They have to pay for their own food. They have to pay for their own training when it's on the off season. Like I want to see those guys that have potential, right? They're long and they have potential to grow in their bodies a bit more. I want to see the verticals. I think the verticals say a lot about the athlete. The broad jump says a ton about the athlete. The 10-yard shuttle or the 40-yard shuttle where they're moving side to side, that says more about athletes to me than that 40 time that everybody glorifies, right? So if a guy runs a 4.6 because Jerry Rice ran a 4.6, I guess because Jerry Rice ran a 4.6, he's not the greatest receiver of all time, right? False. Jerry Rice had an unbelievable vertical. I think he jumped like 38, 39 inches, which is incredible, especially back then when the vert wasn't such a big deal. So Jerry Rice was an excellent athlete. That tells me he was very explosive, and it shows on the plays, man. Maybe he ran 4.6 at the combine or during his 40, but dude ran 4.4 on the field. He ran past DBs all the time. And his routes, his acceleration into his routes was incredible. So that's what I'm looking for when I watch the scouting combine. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's a time killer in a lot of ways. It also helps me come to this show and say, hey man, this is where I see, these guys going, these guys going, these guys going. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. I have, on our to-do list, one of our things would be what I want the Raiders to look at in free agency and what I really want to see the Raiders look at when it comes to the draft and who, players I think they should target. And I'll be real with you guys, man. Like I've been kind of a proponent where I think the Raiders should focus on winning now, but not be afraid to get assets where you can get assets. Does that make sense? If that's confusing, I don't blame you guys. You can tell me it's confusing. I'm just trying to be real with you. Um, so, for example, there are going to be some players you have to make tough decisions on. Like Max Crosby isn't one. All of these foolish trade options with Max Crosby to the Bears for the number 9 overall pick and a first rounder next year and all that stuff, that's not going to happen. You'll never see that happen. Max Crosby is the heart and soul of this team. He's earned his spot. He's one of those legendary Raiders you're just not going to let go of, right? Not anytime soon anyway. So Max Crosby's out of hand. It just won't happen. But a guy like Davante Adams, who's on the wrong side of 30, I still think he's one of the best receivers in the league. If you could get some stuff from the Jets so that he can reunite with his boy in New York, or if you could get something from the Saints who are trying to win now as well, and they have to offload some contracts, I don't know, man. Like, do it. There's a ton of talent in this year's draft. I'm not saying it's Davante Adams' draft. No. I'm not saying it's a Devontae Adams draft, but these guys can develop, man. Here's the thing. It is great to have an elite receiver. What I can tell you is I don't believe the San Francisco 49ers have an elite receiver, right? Deebo Samuel is a utility guy, but he's had some injury issues lately, and I think that really held back the team this year. Not held it back, but that held back the Super Bowl this year. Because when you look at these players, they're not really doing anything special. Ayuk might be the best receiver on that team because he's an amazing route runner. They just didn't throw him the ball enough, in my opinion, especially in the Super Bowl. The guy was open almost every play. He was the only one creating separation. Those are the type of guys I would recommend the Raiders look for. The Devontae Adams type, but just get younger, man. Like it's just the way the game is. It's nothing against Devontae. I don't want it to happen. I'm just saying if a team comes to them and offers them, a first and a second next year for Devontae Adams, no different than the trade that they got, and he's still very good. So it's a possibility that a team would offer that. You take it because that helps you in the future. It helps you a ton. Maybe it helps you trade in to that top 3 that you've been looking to trade in by giving them your first this year, your first next year, and your first after that, because it's probably going to cost, it's probably going to cost the 2025 and 2026 first round pick regardless. By trading Devontae Adams, you at least walk away with another first round pick and have the ability to pick in the first round next year. It's scenarios, man. It's fun mocking. It's fun to get an idea of what you're looking to do. Adam said we won't see it happening, but the mock trading thing is still fun. Yeah, dude, everybody wants Max Crosby. Everybody. The Ravens want Max Crosby, right? I may be wrong. I may be wrong, but the Niners love Nick Bosa. I still think they would take Max Crosby over Nick Bosa. I don't believe that I think Max Crosby is criminally underrated in our league. He's talked about a ton, but the fact that he has not been mentioned in Defensive Player of the Year as much as he should have been, especially this year, is crazy to me. He's unbelievable. He's an unbelievable player. So he's off the table. But a guy like Devontae Adams, if somebody came with a really good offer, take the offer, man. If it's a first and a second next year, take it. That's unbelievable assets for a guy that's going to be 30 plus this year. I don't say I want it to happen because Devontae's a beast. He's still unbelievable. I think the Raiders should look at restructuring some deals, right? Like Devontae's deal. I think they should look at restructuring, Colton Miller's deal. Maybe some of Max Crosby's deal. We know Max Crosby's going to be around for the next 5 years if the Raiders can help it. So pushing his money out a little bit and guaranteeing some money up front to clear some cap space isn't going to hurt. There's just a lot of things the Raiders can do. They have a ton of flexibility, but it's great to try and identify some guys that can really separate themselves in this scouting combine. So I know that I went on a tangent. You never know, Larry, man. Everybody says that. It's like the dreaded vote of confidence. You know what I mean? Like when an owner goes, no, we really support their head coach, and then 2 weeks later that head coach is fired. It's the NFL, man. It's a business. If a team comes to Telesco and says, hey, we want to give you our first round this year and our second next year, you're telling me the Raiders aren't going to take that for Devontae? I don't know, man. That'd be hard to turn down. Draft picks are such an unbelievable asset for NFL teams. Now, the Raiders are shit at picking first-round picks. I won't lie about that, but this could be a different regime because Tom Telesco overall has done a really good job of finding talent. Like, LA's problem wasn't that they weren't talented because Tom Telesco had a really talented team. Yeah, Larry, exactly, 100%. It's so hard to turn down. And he's 31, probably going to be 32 this season. So what does that tell you? He's on the wrong side of 30, man. This is typically when those great receivers start to go downhill a little bit. I'm not saying Devontae will. I'm just being honest about the situation. If you could get a first and a second, whether it's a first this year, second next year, or what if a team goes, we'll give you a first and second next year? You wouldn't take that? Oh no, not the vote of confidence. That's the surest sign that you're a dead man walking. 100%, dude. When a GM has to come out and say, no, we're not trading this guy. Dude, come on. Like, that's the worst. Reggie McKenzie is the best GM ever. LOL. Dude, he missed on so many draft picks. He did hit on quite a few of them, though. Like, Gabe Jackson was a great draft pick. Damn. That's so tough, dude. He missed. We've just missed on so many first-round picks as a team. The Raiders have. It's ridiculous. But we'll focus on them a bit more later in the show. I do want to talk about the Oakland A's, or yeah, the Oakland A's, because it looks like they could be staying the Oakland A's. Um, we're just seeing more and more hurdles to this move, this relocation to Vegas. As you guys know, the Oakland A's, it was unanimously decided by Major League Baseball and its owners that the Oakland A's they approved a relocation for the Oakland A's to Las Vegas. So much so that the owners are willing to waive the relocation fee. Caveat: the Nevada government is no longer willing to really work with the A's. At one point, and I get what you're saying, Larry, if the A's say if they stay, they're stupid. I get it. But they might not have a choice, because at one point, Las Vegas was willing to give the A's roughly $350 million and then really lease the stadium out to them super cheap, so the way they were making a ton of money at a value of almost $500 million. The A's, for whatever reason, being the A's and the A's owner, so you are thick and you don't quite understand your value, said, no, we want the same amount as the Raiders got. There's absolutely no way the A's are on the same level as the Raiders. No way. Not even possible. The Major League Baseball might be the fourth favorite sport in America right now. With respect, I think probably third, solid third. But they're not even in the conversation for the top two sports. It's NFL, it's NBA. Those are the two most profitable leagues right now. Major League Baseball has 182 games, or whatever you want to call it. 162 games, right? They have 162 games, and they still can't bring more profit than the NFL or the NBA. Because it's not feasible anymore. It's not the same thing as it used to be. So the Athletics asking, oh, hey, we want the same value in tax money as the Raiders, it's not going to happen. So on top of that, not only do they get greedy, John Fisher, who is the owner of the A's, right? There's a lot of people that think he's just going to kill this deal because he's greedy and he's stupid. He doesn't get it. Well, on just yesterday, and this is per CBS Sports. This is an article by Mike Axisa. The Oakland A's move to Las Vegas hits a hurdle as Nevada State Education Association tries to block funding. So now you have a teachers union in Nevada saying there is no way we're going to continue paying taxes. We already did it for the Raiders. We're not going to do it for another team. If this passes, dude, the A's are screwed. If this passes, the A's have no chance of getting to Vegas. So it's just kind of crazy, man. Like, I believe that the owner should have struck while it was hot. Again, Vegas offered $380 million in public money to help with the grounds and getting things up and running, right? They're also part of that deal was like leasing the stadium back to the A's at a really cheap rate so that they were extremely profitable at a value of almost $500 million in public funds is how they situated it, and they didn't take it. The Las Vegas A's didn't take it. They're ridiculous. The A's owner should be able to find some sponsorships big enough to cover the rest, or come up with a loan, man. That's what the Raiders did. They went to Bank of America and said, hey, man, can you help finance the rest? The NFL's given us Vegas has given us 750. The Raiders are putting in 500. The NFL gave the Raiders 500 because of that whole really bad situation with the Chargers and the Rams, because it should have been the Raiders and the Rams sharing that stadium, but no, it ended up being the Chargers, and they got vetoed and outvoted because of Jerry Jones and Kroenke's relationship. Everyone knows that, right? So yeah, the NFL said we'll waive relocation, we'll give you $500 million to help build the stadium. So the Raiders, for a $2 billion stadium, had to turn around and finance the rest, and they did it through Bank of America. There's no reason There's no reason, first of all, a baseball team should have to have a $2 billion stadium. It's a baseball park, man. The A's are lucky to put like 1,000 people in the stands. Why don't you just build a stadium out for like 25,000 people with a retractable roof, right? I don't understand why they can't do that for about $1.2 to $1.5 billion. You get the public money from Vegas and you loan the rest of the crap. And you'll be able to pay it off in no time because you should be able to make your team more marketable. I just don't get it. But right now, there's a lot of hurdles in the way. And the big one would be the teachers union, essentially. And I state again, the Nevada State Education Association. So to me, it sounds like a teachers union. And they're saying it's unconstitutional. The NSEA's lawsuit will require 102,362 signatures by June 26 to force a referendum on the November ballot to overturn the $380 million in public funds to the A's. So again, there's a possibility that this still goes down because business is business. But if somehow that teachers union can come up with 102,000 signatures Nevada-wide, dude, the A's are screwed. Adam said, that's what the White Sox are trying to do right now, get a publicly funded $2 billion stadium. And the White Sox are losers. Like, why would anybody pay for that? I wouldn't want to pay for that. No way. They're a historic franchise. I don't know if they're as historic as the Cubs, but the White Sox are unreal, and I would. There's no way I would approve a $2 billion bill. Like, these owners, here's the thing. I understand it's part of the business. Nevada is rich. Like, Vegas has unbelievable amounts of money. The casinos are taxed to the nines, dude. They make unbelievable amounts of money. So that $750 million in public funds probably didn't take much to hand over to the Raiders. But the Raiders are a far different entity. They're a far more popular entity than the A's. It's not even the same level playing field. The Raiders are considered a top 10 franchise in all of sports. All of sports. The number one being the Dallas Cowboys. The Raiders are in a top 10 list with the Cowboys. The A's are probably a bottom-feeding sports franchise. In Major League Baseball, the third, arguably fourth favorite sport in America. It just doesn't make sense. So a lot of hurdles. I don't know if this is going to happen. I don't know if the teachers union can really get 102,000 signatures. That's a lot of signatures, by the way. But yeah, there's a lot of hurdles in place. And on top of all of that, the Athletics have the worst record in baseball last season, 50-112. They're so good at losing, they lost over 100 games, dude. And it expires after this, and their lease expires after this season with O Coliseum or Ring Central Coliseum, essentially. So it's unclear where the team will even play between 2025 and 2027 because the new ballpark, if it's approved, the funding's approved, and they find the money, it won't be open until 2028. The A's are just in a whole world of crap. And John Fisher is at the center of it because he's the owner and he just hasn't done a really good job of managing the team. I get it. He bought an absolute mess, but it's the reality, dude. They're just not the same. They're not in the same business. We're going to go to a quick break. When we get back, we're going to touch base on the Golden Knights, and then I'm going to dive right into the Raiders, a bit more detail as to what I'm looking at for needs, what I think of the new coaching addition, Joe Philbin, and what is my desires as far as players in free agency and the draft. When we get back here on the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the '08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans. we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college and the CCCAA and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I Single A in the FBS? Well then, look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back to the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. You guys can get at us on our Twitter forums at SinCity_IESR, at Cale_Henderson, where we talk all things Vegas sports. If you guys miss a show, don't worry about it. Don't stress out. We got every which way possible for you guys to tune into the show, listen to past episodes, like, follow the show, share the show on YouTube, Apple Pods, Good Pods, Google Pods, Spotify is one of the big ones, Spreaker Radio. I mean, all of those, guys. Go to Sin City Sports, like, follow, share the episodes that you really like. Do the same thing for my colleagues, my teammates here at IE Sports Radio. Go to our website, like, follow their shows, follow their websites, look at their bios. We do a lot of hard work around here, Larry B. included. So, being he's the man, the myth, the legend, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, Larry. Adam, I got a bone to pick with you, dude. Way to fire me up on the Golden Knights. So they won tonight 6-2 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. It was an excellent game. Pretty impressed with the way that they handled that game. This is the type of game that I would expect the Vegas Golden Knights to play on a consistent basis. It just hasn't been the same this year. It just hasn't been the same as last year. I think some injuries have kind of crept up. The good news is Jack Eichel is basically skating. He will be back. You didn't do nothing, Adam. Although you are the resident IE Sports Radio pot stirrer, professional pot stirrer. I appreciate that. Um, Especially with the Max Crosby trade idea that you threw out there, a few weeks back. Maybe it's about a month ago. I laughed at it, but I was like, man, you Bears fans are high. Um, high. So, Golden Knights are starting. Listen, they went on a 3-game skid. It was rough. And when I say it was rough, man, how do I put this? They beat the Sharks. Sharks are trash. Lose to the Predators 5-3. Lose to the Maple Leafs 7-3. Lose to the Senators 4-3. Beat the Maple Leafs tonight 6-2. So not a bad bounce back. Marchessault and William Karlsson led the charge there with those 6 goals. Kicked ass, took names. And then again, as we stated 5 hours ago, it was reported by ESPN that Jack Eichel was skating for the first time since the injury. So he's getting healthy. They're getting healthy at the right time, especially with this playoff push underway. A bit worried. Okay, here's why. I mean, there's quite a few games left. There's plenty of time to start, catching up to the Vancouver Canucks. But the Canucks have just been so good this year. They've been so solid. Like, they just don't make mistakes. There's a reason why they're number 1 in the West right now, man. They just don't make mistakes. And they're doing an excellent job. But Golden Knights play Boston, Buffalo, Columbus, Vancouver, Detroit, Seattle, Calgary, New Jersey, Tampa Bay. Let's take a look here. Seattle, Columbus, St. Louis, Nashville, Winnipeg, Minnesota. And that's just this upcoming month, by the way. Yeah, they have that many games in the month of March. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games in March. 14 games in March. You guys understand that's almost like 3 games a week, right? That's just an incredible amount of ice time. So, and I'm sure most of the league will have that. It just feels like, man, that's aggressive. It's crazy. Makes you wonder, Adam, you can tell me, do you think they'll end up shorting an NHL season? Or like going back to like a 60-game form or something like that with only 32 teams or 31 teams? It would be interesting. I think 82 is a bit excessive. I wonder why they came up with the number 82. Can you answer that, Mr. Neutral Zone Hockey Aficionado? Is there a reason why 82 games was the choice for the league? Were they just trying to copy the NBA or what? I'd be kind of interested to know. I feel like you should play every team twice. So if you have 31 teams in the league right now, you should have 62 games. That would shorten your season up by 20 games, making games more meaningful. It would also spread out games a little bit more. And it would, again, force you to play each team twice. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. They played 82 games back when it was just 6 teams in the league. They're not shortening the season for anything. Yeah, hockey's a bit old school like that. I could totally see that. Just like baseball, man, they just don't get it. 162 games is ridiculous. Like, majority of those games, when you're watching those games, especially in the summer, when it's a weekday, you're looking at the stands just empty. You're lucky to see 2,000 fans at those games. Is it even worth it? I just don't understand why baseball does that. The NHL did that because money. Yeah, I get it. I get it. And they had that holdout, man, which was super weird. It almost canceled a season, I think. Isn't that right, Adam? Wasn't there a season lost because of the holdout for NHL negotiations? But a ton of stuff went down. Kind of segueing over to our favorite team in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas Raiders. Gotta love them. Ralph, by the way, I didn't get a chance to say, man, thanks for the love, dude. You're awesome. Kale, Sin City Sports, have a great show. Let's go. And then Ralph also followed up with Kale. Thanks for your great support. Love your show, man. Thank you so much. Taryn Rodriguez said the NHL did that because of money. That's how everything is done, right? That's the motivation for almost everything. I mean, it's just kind of a human element. But if we're being honest, our governments, our society has kind of made money the focal point. I mean, people are having a hard time living off of $60,000 a year these days. That's ridiculous. That just tells you how expensive life is right now. If two people in a home make 60 grand, they're still like they're barely getting by, and that's not okay. That's not okay because the housing market's ridiculous. Groceries. I shouldn't get political. I apologize, but it's just crazy, man. It's absolutely nuts. 2013 got cut half because to a work stoppage. They played conference opponents only. Okay, so they didn't lose a full season, but they lost half a season. So that's half a season in revenue while they were working through their new collective bargaining agreement due to that NHL lockout. Gotcha. Work stoppage. Work stoppage. When I hear work stoppage, I say lockout. When I hear work stoppage, I hear bargaining agreement, especially when it comes to leagues. Soon the Vegas Thrill and the Las Vegas Ramblers will be Vegas' favorite sport. Count on it. Volleyball is rapidly growing sport. Taryn, I love it, man. You are hyped, but there's no way those teams surpass the Raiders. No offense. Raiders are just, again, the number 10 ranked as far as worth, by the way. Worth. Oh, Larry B chimes in. Our grocery bill is like $300 a week, and Cecilia eats like $20 of that, and I eat the rest. Dude, it's crazy. I don't know how Lexi and I did it the other day. We went to Aldi's. It was only $127, and that was for like legitimately like 8 to 10 pounds of meat, some sweet potatoes, some spinach because we're going on a diet and stuff. So that wasn't bad. Aldi's is where you go, man. If you don't have an Aldi's, I feel for you, dude, because Aldi's is super cheap. But yeah, I walked out of there. I think my chicken pack was like 5.8 pounds, and then we grabbed like 3 or 4 pounds of hamburger, ground beef, because those are the two cheapest ways to eat when you're on a diet is chicken breasts or chicken thighs and ground beef. Plenty of tricks to do that, by the way. If you guys ever want to know, if you have any diet tricks or want to know anything, you guys can reach out. I'm not an aficionado. I'm not a nutritionist, but I do know my way around diets. I boxed for years. I wrestled for years. Played football for years. I have a tendency to fluctuate. In the spring and summer, I lose like 40 pounds every year, and I look really good. And then in the fall, I get so busy, dude. In the fall, I get so busy, I just don't work out as much because I'm constantly on the field, walking around, doing football things, and I don't change my eating habits at that time. So then I blow up when it comes to, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, man. I take that holiday season, man. I really put on the weight. It sucks. I got to stop doing that, especially because I have a wedding next May. Um, yeah. Larry B said, good pickups, cheap and healthy. Absolutely, dude. Listen, I'm not a big fan of spinach, but you can get spinach, you can get some Parmesan cheese, you can get some Italian dressing, fresh carrots. You can shave them and dice them up into like four cutlets or whatever. All that stuff is super cheap, and it's like the main sweet potatoes and spinach are superfoods. So I mean, if you got those two alone, as well as 10 pounds of meat, it's going to feed two people for an entire week pretty easily. Maybe a week and a half. So I don't know. I totally recommend it, man. It's a tough diet, but there's so many different ways you can do it. I grill my chicken. I dice it up so we can easily portion it out. You're gonna laugh. This is a sports show. I gotta stop doing this. But it is for gains, right? It's for gains. I saw a creator. His name's Jeff Harris. Dude lost like 100 pounds. He's super jacked. He looks great. He said one of his secrets was, and I didn't believe him. He would take cottage cheese, like 16-ounce tub of cottage cheese. He would blend it with a little bit of milk to where it's super creamy, and he would add ranch seasoning because it's 0 calorie. And that was his ranch dip. That was the ranch that he'd put on his buffalo chicken or whatever. It's healthy. It's good dairy, and dude, really good. Really good. I tried it. It's no joke. I'll put a couple tablespoons of that on my chicken. I'll stir my chicken around and add some buffalo sauce, dude, and it's fire. Super fire. And it's like, if I do 12 ounces of chicken, which is what I try to average, right? 12 ounces of meat. 2 12-ounce portions of meat, whether it's chicken or beef, gets me around 100 grams of protein a day. Or sorry, gets me around 200 grams of protein a day, around 180 to 190 grams of protein a day. And then I try to have a protein shake or something like that. That's what I've been doing lately, and it's really working. I feel clean. It's awesome. But real quick, I got to talk about the Raiders because you guys know how it is, man. I'm really excited that the Raiders have added Joe Philbin. He's a former offensive assistant and former head coach of the Miami Dolphins. He's very good in the run game. I listen, man. Marvin Lewis, Joe Philbin, you got Tom Coughlin. All three of these guys are going to be massive advisors. Guys that have been head coaches in the past are going to advise Antonio Pierce on how to run a team, how to run an offense. So all of this speculation we had about Luke Getsy getting the job, even though he was piss poor in Chicago, the one thing he did really well was run the ball. Now you're adding Joe Philbin, who coined basically the, if you will, the Wildcat days with, what was his name, Ronnie Brown with the Miami Dolphins. That was amazing. Guy had Jay Fiedler as a quarterback, and they still won games in the AFC East with the Patriots in there. Like, legit. Dolphins were pretty good with Joe Philbin. It's just they're the Dolphins. They didn't make a ton of good decisions. So now he's part of the staff. Really excited about that. I mean, Antonio Pierce has some serious guys to lean on, dude. Tom Coughlin's going to be a Super Bowl. He's going to be a Hall of Fame coach, two-time Super Bowl champ. He's part of that Belichick tree. Parcells tree of Belichick, Sean Payton, and Tom Coughlin are the notable names. Between all of them as head coaches, they have 9 Super Bowls. Bill having 6, of course. And, Bill having 2. I watched the 2 Bills the other day. Fantastic documentary if you guys haven't seen it. But Philbin's part of that coaching tree, the Tom Coughlin coaching tree. Marvin Lewis, excellent defensive guy. Ran one of the greatest defenses ever. Unbelievable defenses ever. The 2000 Ravens. And then you got an excellent coach like Joe Philbin offensively, who's going to bring a little old school but help you out. Terrence said, thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Yeah, you're the man, dude. Terrence said, my diet trick is Subway. It helped me lose some weight in Texas last January. Get at least 5 veggies and flatbread on your cold cut sandwich. It helped me out recently. It is good for your bank account. Depends on how many subs you buy, but I still buy 2 footlongs back in January when I was still in Texas. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Anyways, Raiders, yeah, baby. Telesco, I hope that hurts. I'm just kidding. You got a great GM and a great head coach now. But yeah, Antonio Pierce, I think, is in good shape. I think he's been very smart about his hires. He's got some confidants, dude. He's got some really good people to siphon information off of. You kept Patrick Graham, so your defense should theoretically be a top 10 defense next year. So offensively is where your focus should be, and he's got Marvin Lewis as an advisor, Tom Coughlin as an advisor. Actually, Marvin Lewis, I believe, is a offensive consultant as well as Joe Philbin. So you have 2 very smart coaches talking to each other. And they're overlooking what Luke Getsy does, so they can guide him in the play calling and game planning experience. So that way Antonio Pierce can be CEO and really focus on the defense with Patrick Graham. I think it's win-win, man. Pierce is being really smart about this. I'm really impressed, dude. He's got 3 former head coaches advising him on how to be a better head coach. I don't know of any other new coach that has done that over the years. 3 guys that have had success in their craft, hiring them as advisors and using them for advice. Pierce, I think, is going to do a pretty good job. He's going to be a hard ass, but he's going to love players. He's perfect for this generation of players, man. 100%. Raiders, what do I think they need to do here? So positions of need, right? Quarterback's a big one. Do they have their franchise quarterback? When you listen to interviews, Pierce thinks that Aiden O'Connell is a beast. He loves Aiden. He said he worked his ass off. He'd love to see Aiden get in a full off season to work on what his weaknesses were, grow, have a year 2 jump, and see what he does there. I mean, the guy went 3-1 in the division as a starter. 3-1. Sorry, 3-2. He lost to the Chiefs, I think. I think that was him. Yeah, he lost to the Chiefs in that first meeting, but beat them in the second one. Yes, he didn't complete a pass in the second half against the Chiefs, whatever. But regardless, Pierce has a lot of confidence in Aiden. So if Pierce and them decided they didn't want to trade up and get their guy, I don't know if I'd be upset. Build the team around your 4th-round rookie or your 4th-round second-year quarterback. That super cheap quarterback deal and see what you can do. Run the ball well, play great defense, be great on third down, win the field position game, right, with your punter and your kicker, um, and be excellent in the red zone. And you should win a lot of games. Like, they should easily be second in the division or competing for a win. But that's why quarterback's on the list. If they don't feel like Aiden's totally the guy, if there's something that's had them if there's something that's had them hesitant about Aiden, and they think Jaden Daniels, Drake May, who would be probably my favorite out of all of them, and Caleb Williams would be the guy that they should trade up for, then do it. Don't hesitate. Make it happen. But I truly believe, and this is just me, I think Drake May has the most upside. To me, he's like Ben Roethlisberger out there, a more athletic Ben Roethlisberger. He doesn't look like he's had too many cheeseburgers. He's got a great arm. He's 6'4", all of 230 pounds, man. Like, the dude's a beast. He's tall. He's athletic. I think he'd be perfect for this system. I don't know. Drake May would be my guy, but there's a lot of relationships between Jaden Daniels, and as we've talked about in previous shows, I think Caleb Williams is the number one pick. I do. If the Bears don't take him, somebody's going to trade up and take Caleb because everybody's enamored by his off schedule throws. I hate that stuff. If you can't play within the system very well, sometimes I don't know if you're going to work out at the next level because there are a lot of teams, a lot of defenses in today's NFL, especially as well as defenses being played the last couple of years, and it's only getting better because of all the first round and second round talent on defense that's getting drafted and developed. I think defenses are going to make quarterbacks play within their system. And a guy like Caleb Williams might have an issue with that. I think Caleb Williams' best interest is to find his way to Washington under Cliff Kingsbury, period. But if he can't do that and he's going to the Bears, he's got to hope that the Bears, Eberflus, who I can't even really pronounce his name, that's how irrelevant he is, they have to pull their heads out of their asses and develop him and make him good. Karnick says, Daniels from LSU makes me nervous. Guys that come flying up the boards between the end of the season and April makes, he's, okay, so to be fair, Daniels has been a top 3 prospect since the ending of last year, since playoffs started last year in college football. So he didn't come flying up the draft board. He's been in that top 3 conversation since before the first playoff games in CFB. Now, I get where you're coming from, Adam, because he struggled in Arizona State. He played pretty well. He was a great athlete. He was throwing the ball really well, but he struggled. Some of that's Arizona State. In his first season as the LSU Tigers quarterback, there were some struggles in the beginning, and then towards the end, he really balled out. And then last year, he was just lights out, man. And the team just wasn't good enough to overcome a 3-loss season. But Jaden still threw for like 4,800 yards and 40 touchdowns and won the Heisman. I think he's the most intriguing guy in this draft at the quarterback position because it could go either way. It could go north, it could go south real fast. But something tells me if he lands in the right system, if he were to be the Raiders quarterback, I think he'd do amazingly well because Antonio Pierce and Luke Getsy would make sure that he's successful. He can run and he can throw. And I think he's a better thrower out of college than what Justin Fields was. And I was very, very optimistic about Justin Fields coming out of college. So Caleb he's the most exciting right now. He's going to get the first overall pick. I think Drake May is he has the most upside, meaning he could probably be better than all of them in this draft because of his abilities, his talent. He just has to land in the right spot. And Jaden Daniels at number 3, he's the most intriguing. I think J.J. McCarthy ends up being like the best game manager. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes in the second round and he wins the Super Bowl because the dude just seems like he's ice cold. I didn't realize he's 6'3" and 215 pounds. Like he's kind of lanky looking, but dude, Burrow looked lanky too. It's not like he looked big and strong coming out of college. Just a better thrower of the football. I don't think we saw as much potential out of J.J. McCarthy either because Michigan was just so damn good at running the football and their identity was just beating people up. But J.J. still did his work. They don't go undefeated. They don't go one loss the year before without J.J. being a really good quarterback. And I think that's why Harbaugh is so high on him. There's a good chance that J.J. McCarthy is very successful. Bo Nix, I'm on the fence about. If you want to talk about a quarterback that makes me nervous, Adam, Bo Nix is the guy. I mean, his pressure grade, according to PFF, is excellent. It's one of the best in this draft. But why did he struggle so much against Washington? They were obviously not. I mean, I'm not sure they were the second best team in college football last year. Washington was. Yes, they made it to the national title game, but you can't tell me Washington would have beat Georgia. Respectfully, there's just no way. So Bo Nix struggled against Washington twice. I would like to know more about why that happened. I think Bo Nix going to a team like, I don't know, the Steelers at 20 would be an unbelievable pick for the Steelers because I do believe he's better than Kenny Pickett. I do believe that. It just depends on where he goes, man. It's got to be a good situation. Um, yeah, the Steelers are a good pick. I mean, even the Denver Broncos at 12 are a good pick for Bo Nix. I'm not going to lie. I think that he is right up the alley of what Sean Payton would be looking for. He's got the athleticism. He's got an accurate arm. Like, he's very accurate, by the way. He's one of the more accurate quarterbacks in this draft. Bo Nix makes me the most nervous because it's either going to be really good or it's going to be horrible. Whereas Jaden Daniels, I side more towards it's going to be successful. As far as free agency is concerned for the Raiders, I would love to see Patrick Queen as the linebacker. I would like to see the Raiders go out and get a linebacker, get a dude. Like, solidify the middle of your defense and allow Divine Diablo to cover tight ends at linebacker because he has the ability to do it. He's a former strong safety turned outside linebacker. Robert Spillane and Patrick Queen in the middle would be absolutely nasty if you could figure out how to grow that defensive line. The other one is I wouldn't mind seeing Leonard Williams. I wouldn't mind seeing him finally make his start with the Raiders or finally get his turn with the Raiders. Because you know it's something he's wanted. It's been rumored for years. I'd love to see Leonard Williams. He'd be an elite defensive tackle that would really help. Allowing the Raiders to really focus on maybe going to get a Tavondre Sweat in the draft. Big, massive, super strong kid out of Texas, like 6'3", 340 pounds. Extremely hard to move. Watch the Senior Bowl. Tavondre Sweat out of Texas was just dominating. He was pushing double teams 2 yards into the backfield almost every play. Yes, it's the Senior Bowl, but still. If you have a guy like that can take up double teams and cause penetration, even just a yard deep, you're going to make things easier for Malcolm Kuntz, Max Crosby, and a guy like Leonard Williams if you sign him. So I love those two guys. I hope that that's something they focus on. The other one I'd like to see is maybe a guard. I don't think Andre James stays. I really don't. Divine Diablo, probably the best name in the NFL. It is a badass name. Listen, I think he was really good last year. I don't think he gets enough credit for how good he's played. Again, you were a strong safety or safety basically all of your football career. You get to the Raiders, and they try to convert you to an outside linebacker in a 4-3 system. And then that coach gets fired. So then a 3-4 coach comes in. I'm not saying that, Patrick Graham's doing a bad job by any means, obviously. I just think Divine needs another year. Let him show it, man. But still, go get Patrick Queen if you can. I do believe the Raiders have to focus on offensive line. I am over the Josh Jacobs stuff. If they can keep him at a reasonable price, do it. But in my opinion, the draft is so deep this year with guys like Estime in the 4th round possibility from Notre Dame, who's a stud, an absolute stud. I would take him in a heartbeat. I think he'd be great behind a great offensive line. I think Zamir White is going to be an excellent player. He just needs a couple supporting guys. You could get a Frank Gore Jr., 5'8", 210 pounds. He runs faster than his dad did coming out of college. You can get him in the 6th or 7th because he played for Southern Miss and have him as like a third down scat back. So you'd have a second year and 2 rookies. Second year player and 2 rookies come in and play for you. Sorry, third year. Zamir White's in his 3rd year. And 2 rookies make up your backfield. I'd be perfectly fine that. It's cheap, and as long as you have a really good offensive line, you're good to go. But I can tell you right now, I think the Raiders really need to target the quarterback. I think they need to try to get another tackle, or at least a right tackle, a big, massive dude if they can. It's going to be hard to do. Christian Jones out of Texas, he could be a 3rd or 4th round pick. He's massive. He's like 6'6", 330. and he can move, and he's an excellent run blocker. That Morgan kid out of Arizona, again, 6'6", 340 pounds. He's a beast. I think Andre Mims, he's the tackle out of Georgia. He's like 6'7", 340. There's no way the Raiders get to him. He's a first-round pick. If the Raiders trade up to get Jaden Daniels, they just won't have an opportunity to get Mims unless they stay at 13. And here's the way I look at it. If the Raiders can't get one of those top 3 quarterbacks, I believe the Raiders should look for a way to trade down. So get in the 20s and amass some more draft picks and build around Aiden. Straight up. That's my opinion. Maybe some people think it'd be wrong, but that's only if you can't get your guy. And I think the Raiders should do what they can to get their guy, but I just don't understand. I don't think people understand how much it's going to cost for the Raiders to go up and get their guy this year. I mean, it could be 3 first-round picks just to get the number 3 overall pick, because the Patriots are going to have a really hard time parting ways with that pick because they need a franchise quarterback as well. Just being honest. They need a franchise guy as well. A lot of teams need a franchise guy. The Giants need a franchise guy. They could be a trade target. I don't know if Daniel Jones, I don't know if they're in love with Daniel Jones over there. There's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks. Atlanta, and they're all ahead of the Raiders. So it's going to cost the Raiders a ton to move up from 13 to 3 or 13 to 2. Straight up. But that's something I'm sure that the staff can figure out. Again, if they have to build around Aiden, I'm not upset with it. I would like to see a franchise guy this year. But you never know, man. You could give Aiden a shot. Russell Wilson was a 3rd-round pick. What happened with him? They built an unbelievable Seattle team around Russ. And what happened? Not saying Aiden's Russ, just being honest. Like, 4th-round rookie, he played really well. He played better than most rookie quarterbacks last year. Build around him, see what happens. Put him in positions to succeed. Run the ball well, be efficient, and he could be fine. Could have an elite team around him with a 4th-round contract. This is the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. If you guys have any questions, if you guys want to get back to us, hit us up on our Twitter forums at SinCity_IESR, at Cale_Henderson, where we talk all things Vegas sports. You guys can check us out on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Pods, Good Pods, YouTube, IESportsRadio.com, where you can like our show and listen back to any of our shows. We are available. All of our links are there. Just go, like, follow. And as always, folks, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here on IE Sports Radio. Love, peace, and hair grease, folks.